All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of year again. It's officially Push-Pull Run season. So Push-Pull Run is a hybrid competition that my mates down at Melbourne Strength Culture have put together, and it's comprised of a max bench press, a max deadlift, and then running a mile as fast as you can. And even though traditionally Push-Pull Run is an in-person competition that's happening down in Melbourne on the 31st of May, they have had people enter online in a digital version of Push-Pull Run previously. So I thought I could make this even more fun by calling out a bunch of my mates and seeing if they'll give it a crack as well. All right, anyway, so here's the list of people I'm calling out for this Push-Pull Run competition. Alec Blennis, Austin Yoakum, Will Rattel, Tim Riley, Adam Meekins, and Atlas Power Shrugged. Good luck. I think I can absolutely smoke you in this competition. I threw this together on my way into the gym, so I may have forgotten some names. I may add to it later. And I'm not beefing with any of these people or anything like that. I think it's just cool to get some friendly competition going. It's not that serious. I know especially Alec, Austin, and Will have been talking about having more online competitions like this. They've also hosted their own versions of online competitions. So yeah, I just thought I'm getting ready for this contest, and it'd be a whole heap of fun to just drag a few other people into it with me. And even if you weren't on my call out list, but you're interested in competing in Push-Pull Run digitally on the 31st of May, we'll see if we get a little bit of an online leaderboard going so we can all compete against each other. All right, I'm just gonna crank my first set of RDLs and then I'll explain the rules of the contest in full. All right, so they love their drug-tested powerlifting down at Melbourne Strength Culture. So the rules for the bench press and the deadlift will follow the IPF rulebook guidelines. So if you're participating digitally, you will need a referee, which can just be your mate, but you need to get a start command for your bench press. You need to pause the rep on your chest until you get a press command once the bar has been motionless. And then you must wait for a rack command after the completion of the rep before you stick it back into the rack. The deadlift must be completed on a stiff power bar, not a thin noodly deadlift bar, and the lifter must receive a down command once they've successfully locked out their deadlift. Hitching and ramping will not be allowed and will lead to a no lift. Now for the running portion of the event, we will be conducting it at a track, and for this event, because we use the metric system here in Australia, we just do a 1600 metre run because I don't know, it's kind of weird to do a mile on the track here in Australia. And anyone not named Alec Blennis is probably stoked about having 80 metres chopped off the run anyway, so just deal with it. And so how is Push-Pull Run scored? Because it's not just as simple as adding together your weights and then adding your run time onto it, because we've got a body weight coefficient that affects the lifting in one way and then the running in an opposite way. And so they've come up with the Briggs score to do that. It's an adaptation of either the Wilks or the Dots formula. I can't exactly remember which one. And then they came up with their own proprietary formula to determine your running score, which will be added to your Dots score based on your body weight expectations. Again, historically, General Physical Preparation as a company has represented itself very well at these Push-Pull Run events. I got 4th in my first one. I trained the winner of the last one that I went to. Shout out to James Knoll. Jacob Mosquito, my 2IC here at General Physical Preparation, always wins the run once you've factored in body weight as well. So you can expect to see a really strong showing once again, as we always do at these Push-Pull Run events, but I'm really excited to put myself to the test against the rest of the online community as well, because I do think I'm pretty generally physically prepared at the end of the day, and I'm quite the push-pull runner. All right, so how's my training going to pivot over the next 8 weeks to better prepare myself for Push-Pull Run? Just making a couple of small changes. I'm dialing back my emphasis on sprinting for a little bit, and I'm just going to be doing a lot of 400 metre intervals, just playing around with different work-rest ratios and things like that. Nothing too fancy. Not really going to do any deadlifting or anything like that, just going to stick with my Olympic weightlifting, because especially when my clean goes up, usually if I'm in shape to clean 140 kilos, I should be able to deadlift anywhere between 230 to 240 kilos. I'm just going to supplement it with a little bit more emphasis on my hinging work. So with my 2 hinging and arms days that I got programmed each week, I've been coming in lately and hitting arms first and then getting into my hinging. And and that's because I've been trying to emphasize arm growth. But just until push-pull run's over, I'm gonna rejig things, so I'm hinging first in that workout, so I've just got a little bit more energy to put into those. I also think just dialing back my high-speed running or sprinting just a little bit for the next 2 months is gonna give my CNS a little bit extra space for the top end on deadlifts as well. I'm pretty sure my mile time at the last push-pull run was around the 5:20 mark. And that was just off the back of training as normal, just letting my surfing take care of most of my endurance work, and then just going out for 2 shakeout runs. And the main goal of those is just to sort of feel the 5-minute. And the whole purpose of those 2 runs is mainly psychological more than anything. Running a mile as fast as possible absolutely hurts, and I just need to feel a little bit of pain while I'm running a couple of times before I get into the actual event. And especially just with the way my momentum is in training at the moment, if I'm gonna get any edge over my competitors over the next 8 weeks, it's probably gonna come from just giving my lifting a little bit of a bump, because I think it'd take a fair amount of work for me to reduce my mile time that quickly. So just looking to maximize the points for the lifting for this push-pull run prep specifically, especially with the way that the scoring works based off body weight. As long as I'm not running like a 6-minute mile or anything like that, I'll be sweet. So even though Push-Pull Run is advertised as a hybrid event, and it is hybrid in spirit, it's more of a lifting competition with some running thrown into it. And so what I mean by that is, historically, when you look at the list of winners and people who've podiumed at the event, there's a much bigger list of people who are really good at lifting and they don't suck at running. Versus even if you're getting close to like a 5-minute mile or even like a 4:30-minute mile, but you suck at lifting, like you got no double body weight deadlift, can't bench 1.5 times body weight, you're not gonna get a sniff at the podium. I also think a lot of people really don't respect the speed element of the middle distance races, especially in the middle of this hybrid fad where you have a lot of people building towards their first half or even full marathon. They just have no speed whatsoever. And don't get me wrong, you need a little bit of a gas tank to get through a mile, but as long as you don't have a terrible gas tank, you can kind of just bite down on the mouthpiece and tank the pain. But like I said, that's based on the premise that you actually have some semblance of speed. Because yeah, for me personally, like I feel like a lot of the people that I beat at the run at Push-Pull Run, they would absolutely toast me over a 5K, 10K, or anything longer than a mile. But when it comes to the mile, speed is enough of a factor in a mile run that even with my lack of long distance running, I can still absolutely toast a lot of these people because they just have no real speed. They're just survivors. They can hold on for a long time. So even though I'm pushing a lot of 400 intervals for my prep for this, that's just because I do so much sprinting on the regular. If you don't do any sort of speed work, I would work on some sort of middle distance intervals in these last 8 weeks, but I'd actually be trying to get a little bit of top end speed going as well. I mean, it's 8 weeks. You're not going to add that much to your max velocity in that time, but I think if you're not a quick person, you could probably do a decent amount of work in 8 weeks. Tactically, I think a lot of people overthink the mile event as well, and they pay too much attention to what the top milers are doing. So when you look at these elite level middle distance runners, they'll do what we call a kick. So they won't go all out, they'll go out at a decent pace, but they'll save a little bit for the end of the race so they can sprint towards the finish line. That is so hard to do if you are not an elite middle distance runner. Us normies, we don't have the gas tank and we don't have the tendons to produce anything that resembles a kick in the last couple of 100 meters of a middle distance run. If you have the tendons and running economy of a pleb, like the most of us do, if you're gonna get any sort of efficient high speed running out of yourself, it's gonna come when you're fresh. So as long as you don't gas yourself too much in the first half of the race, you'll be able to hold on. You'll be able to hold on and still put in a pretty good performance just by going out almost as hard as possible. I've seen so many people make the mistake of going out a little bit below their threshold and it just eats away at them, and they have this fantasy about how they're going to kick in the last couple of 100 meters, but they go to kick and there's just nothing there. They just keep going at the same pace. I'm telling you, go out pretty hard. As long as you're not completely wrecked in that first 800 meters, you'll be fine and you'll put up a really good time that's a good representation of your running abilities. All right, so there you have it. That's the outline of Push-Pull Run. It's going down on the 31st of May. Max bench, max deadlift, 1 mile run, or 1600 meter run. I'm really keen to get a few more of these challenges going, so if anyone else has any other suggestions, I've got a few more ideas of some competitions we could try after this, but open to everyone else's suggestions. Also, if you didn't get called out, but you're interested in Push-Pull Run and you want to compete, the invitation is open to everyone. So we'll come up with an online leaderboard. Either the Melbourne Strength Culture guys will do it, or I'll put one up if they don't want to do an online competition. And yeah, I'll keep you updated. If you're interested in learning from me or getting coaching from me, there's links down below. If not, I'll see you in a couple of days with another video.